If you own drawers from a popular furniture manufacturer that are somewhat falling apart, don't worry, you're not on your own. They're easy to fix and you definitely don't need to throw them away, and I'll show you how here on Proper DIY. This is a set of Hemnes drawers from IKEA that I've been using for the last number of years. And just like millions of people around the world, I've had a problem with the bottoms of the drawers either bowing excessively or just failing altogether. Now, the top drawer I repaired about 4 years ago, and other than a little bit of a bow either side, it's holding up pretty well. But the second drawer has completely failed, and the third drawer is sort of on the edge. Now, before I go any further, just in case there's any lawyers from IKEA watching, I have to make it clear that what I'm not saying is Hemnes drawers aren't fit for purpose. I mean, I just can't see why a flimsy bit of hardboard at the bottom of a drawer shouldn't last for 10, 20 years. I think the problem and why these are failing is actually you, the public, for firstly overloading the drawer, and secondly for doing something that another member of this household does in these drawers every day of the week. Let me show you. We all have that tendency to get as much in our drawers as possible, sometimes overloading them. And if we can't get any more in, but we do need to put clothes somewhere, there is a tendency to put stuff on top, push it down and give it a good push, and one way or the other, push it in. Little do we realise what's happening to the bottom of that drawer when we're pushing down on it. So if I take these clothes out, let's have a look at the bottom of this drawer. So this is what we don't normally see, the bottom of the drawer, because it's covered in clothes. And you can immediately see what's happened to this one. It started to bow in time after so much clothes and so much pushing down has happened year after year. And eventually it's popped out of the rebate at the back. And now there's nothing supporting the back there. It's what I would call failed. And the bottom one isn't far behind it. It hasn't popped out the rebate, but there is a big bow in it, so that's ready to go. So as I'm sure I'm not the only person with this problem, today I'm going to show you 3 ways of fixing these to different extents, which any DIY or even non-DIY can do with some really basic tools. Right, let's get these 3 drawers out into the workshop and I'll show you. So I've got my 3 drawers upside down on my workbench, and they're all at different levels of distress. I've got the first one that I fixed a few years ago, which isn't too bad. This one is quite bowed in the middle, and this one is the one that you saw upstairs, which is hanging out the back. Now, the first way of fixing these, if they're not too bad, not to the extent that these are, is with something called drawer supports or drawer fixing wedges. You can buy these from Amazon. Weirdly, I've never seen them in any DIY shop, only eBay and Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find them if you need them. And they're essentially little plastic wedges that go in between the hardboard and the carcass of the drawer. And once they're in there, you tighten up the screw and it essentially holds a hardboard to the side of the drawer, so it doesn't have an opportunity to pull out in the future. So those clips are okay if the bottom of your drawer is still fairly flat or brand new. But if you get to the point where, like I have here, you've got a really saggy bottom and it's really, really bowed, if you put those clips in now, it might stop it getting any worse, but it doesn't really solve the problem of like a concave bottom to your drawer. So I'd say at this point, you really need to do something else. So that leads me on to solution number 2. And it's very, very simple without having to take the bottom of the drawer out. All we're going to do is reinforce this bottom to push it straight and give it an extra strength in the future. And that's what I did 4 years ago on the top drawer. And all I did was glue a timber batten to the underside of the drawer, pushing it flat to make it straight and giving it extra support. This batten that I used all those years ago was 45mm by, it's about 15mm deep. Now that's glued on with wood glue, and I was lucky enough just to get one fixing on the back here. And since then it's been absolutely fine. This one little strip of timber has really strengthened things up and given it a new lease of life. And the great thing about doing it this way is you can do it without taking the drawer apart. I wouldn't necessarily like to take this IKEA drawer apart and put it back together again and hope that it doesn't go a bit wibbly wobbly. It's sort of connected with like plastic nails and all kinds of things that I think and then, to be honest with you, like one-time use. I don't think I could get those out and get them in again. So this is the system we're going to use on my mediumly damaged drawer, although I haven't got this size timber, so I've just got whatever's lying around the workshop. And rather than just putting one in the middle, what I'm going to do with the deeper drawer is actually put on two, and I'll show you how. Before fixing anything to the underside, make sure the drawer bottom is inside the rebate and the back is straight. 4, 3, 3. The bigger the timber, the stronger it will obviously be, as long as it doesn't protrude below the drawer front. I cut two pieces, just a couple of millimeters shorter than the gap that I've measured. I'm spacing these at third points along the underside, and as the support is timber and the drawer bottom is hardboard or thin MDF as we'd call it these days, I'm using standard wood glue. If any side of the carcass is banana shaped, it's usually going to be the back where it's been pushed out by the bottom. So I take the opportunity to fix it to the new supports where I can with a couple of screws. So that's that first one finished. Obviously you can't put a fixing in the front, else you'll see it on the front of the drawer. That's why I put them in the back. However, as long as you've got plenty of glue on the front section, then you won't need a fixing. Believe me, that will be absolutely fine. But if you can get a fixing in wherever you can, obviously the more the better. This batten, I didn't tell you what size I'm using. It's actually 20 millimeters by 35. You can really use whatever size you want, as long as it's not too deep and it doesn't come out below the bottom of the drawer. Just check your carcass to see if it's going to conflict with anything. But on these Hemnes ones, as long as it doesn't go below the front of the drawer front, then it can really be whatever thickness you want. Right, that's the first one done. Let's move on to the second one. It's along the same sort of theme, but rather than using strips, we're going to use a bit of MDF. Once again, I make sure that the drawer bottom is back in the rebate. That is actually straight. Now that's gone back into that rebate. 4, 3, 4. 4, 3, 4. Same as before. For this job, you don't need thick MDF or plywood. I've got a 9mm thick MDF offcut here that isn't even wide enough to go from one side to the other, but it will still work absolutely fine. Nice fit. So what I need to do now is to glue that down in such a way that it takes the bow out of the original bottom of the drawer. So I really need to push down on it, but I also need something underneath inside the drawer to make sure it doesn't sag and go in the opposite direction. So I need to set up, I'll get some bits of timber maybe, and put this onto it, and then weight this down, glue it on, and that'll be it. I finally find the perfect size object, an IKEA storage box and an offcut of OSB so the drawer bottom can bear against this without the carcass touching anything. And once again, plenty of basic wood glue will stick this fine. Now I just need something really heavy, or multiple things really heavy, so that I can squeeze that, force that the hardboard absolutely flat against the board that's underneath. And I'm not going to tell you what to use. You need to find heavy stuff, like paint. So if I check the bottom of the drawer against a straight edge, you can say that it's near enough straight. Definitely straighter than just putting a couple of battens across. But to be honest with you, however you do it one way or the other, it doesn't make a lot of difference. And if the bottom of the drawer goes up and down a little bit after a couple of t-shirts, no one will ever see. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you some ideas on how to repair your drawers. I will see you next time.